Howdy YouTube, and welcome to another episode of the Gunman. So today we're going to be doing a headlight restoration and refurbish on these old Ford Falcon plastic headlights. It's a very straightforward procedure, so I'll take you right through each step. First step is obviously give them a good clean down. Make sure you're not going to be spraying over any dirt inside and out, and then give it a good dry down. So because I'm going to be doing dry sanding, so we're going to start off with 240 grit. Depending on the condition of your headlights, if there's no sort of chips and scratches and the sort of film that's on the top is not too bad, you could potentially start with a 320 grit, but I find most of the time 240 is the right grit. I wouldn't want to go as coarse as 180 grit because that's just going to be a bit more difficult to remove all of those deeper scratches, because what we're going to have to do is do a fair bit of scratch refinement here, right? So of course, if you were to just go and put your clear coat straight over the 240 grit, you would see these big deep scratches. So first off, you do need to remove the imperfections, so we do need to hit it with that 240 grit. But then obviously, like, what we need to finish it off with is, if you're going orbital sander, I recommend finishing it off with 1000 grit. But if you want to do it by hand, I would recommend finishing it off with 1200 grit. So if you're at home and you don't have, say, an orbital sander and you did have some sort of faded old headlights, there's nothing to say that you can't do this, but you would want to sort of finish it with that finer grit, say 1200 grit, because I've found that by hand, it's generally like a coarser finish, because orbital sander does leave you with much smaller, tighter scratches, which will be less likely to show up when you're painting. So if I was doing this from home and I didn't have an orbital sander, I'd go down, I'd get some 600 grit, some 800 grit, and some 1200 grit, all wet or dry sandpapers, and I'd just do it all wet and dry again, finish it off with 1200 grit. And you would want to still get yourself some 2-pack paint, right? So I would not recommend using acrylic clear like an aerosol one. I've actually heard that they do have like 2-pack aerosol cans. How that works, I don't quite know. It obviously mixes in the chamber, but yeah, there are those options. And another important thing, don't use plastic adhesion promoter. Yes, they are plastic headlights, but for one, they don't need it. It must be the kind of plastic that it is. I guess it's like a very rigid plastic. So the plastic adhesion promoter that we put on bumpers is obviously a different plastic. I think it's like PP. And this one may be ABS, I'm not 100% sure, but yes, another good reason not to use adhesion promoter is it will generally react with your headlights, so it'll sort of craze up, it'll crack up, and yeah, create more problems than good. And again, if you're painting from home, you don't even necessarily have to remove the headlights. If you've got sort of minimal handiwork skills and you don't want to get involved in potentially breaking things, there's nothing to say that you can't do it with a little bit of masking tape. Cover the car with a piece of plastic or a sheet or something like that. Be very careful with the 2-pack fumes, of course. Make sure you wear a respirator. And if you are spraying from home, I highly recommend looking into the ANI Compact, because they operate well off a small compressor available from spraygunsdirect.co.uk. Definitely nothing to say that you can't do this at home with minimal skills. It could be a good sort of starting way to get into spray painting, familiarize yourself with what it's all about, and hey, even if you mess it up, well, there's another job for you to do in fixing it. So, and minimal chance of messing a job like this up. The main thing is make sure you get that final sanding done properly, so you don't want to miss any of the sanding scratches, right? So like I said at the start, if I was to miss any of those 240 grit sanding scratches, you would see it, specifically on headlights, because it's a clear, like, you want to see through the headlight, right? But look, even if they're not perfect, they're going to be a million times better than what they came in at. And yeah, look, I think it's great. I always love doing headlights. It's a bit of fun. We decided to just do the taillights because, like I said, we've got this old Ford Falcon Ute, and it's the boss's, and he's given the whole car a bit of a freshen up. And yeah, definitely got to do the headlights, do the wheels. I think it's little attention to detail like that which makes all the difference in a job like this. So hopefully you guys enjoyed watching. If you did, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. But yeah, make sure you get that prep work right. Finish it off with 1000 on the orbital, 1200 if you're doing hand sanding or wet and dry sandpapers. Until next time, get out there and paint some shit. Gunman out.